Okay, so I wanted to get started asking about writing the script. I saw you were one of the co-writers for the film overall, and what was that inspiration in creating the story and really working together to create the script for the film?
Yeah, I have a writing partner named Derek Weisbein, and we've worked on one script together and a number of other projects. And when COVID was starting to wane and we were able to start getting back out and filming again, I said, why don't we make a short film? I'd like to be back on set working with actors and directing. And we had a couple of ideas. And one of the ideas I presented was a story from my childhood. And when I was 6 years old, unfortunately, my father passed away. And that was obviously very challenging. And in some ways, what was more challenging in certain ways was actually the period after when my mother started dating again. New people were coming into our life. Suddenly, you're living this whole new experience and reality, and especially growing up and going through changes as any young boy does. And one of the times, there was a man I did not particularly like who really seemed to like my mom quite a bit. He wanted to take me to a Dallas Cowboys game. I grew up in Dallas. He wanted to get to know me, and so why don't I take your son on a little drive around the block, for one afternoon, and then I'll take him to a game as the next step. So he drove me around the block. I don't remember anything from the conversation, but I do remember really not wanting to be there. And when he dropped me off, he went back inside to my house. He went and found my mom, probably in her room, and he said, I think you need to get your son's IQ checked out. My mom said, What? What are you talking about? He said, Your son just told me what he thought about our relationship, and I think he's right. And he broke up with my mom on the spot and left.
Mhm.
And my mom likes to tell that story. I guess I got my way. I don't know what I said. And so I told Derek that story. It's like, well, that could be a short film. That could, when you're doing a short, oftentimes you want it to either be contained to a location or a period of time, a shorter period of time. So that was the genesis. What we ended up doing was just riffing off of it. When people watch the film, they'll see that it's not anything like that story, but it has that heart and that humor and character to it.
And after finishing the script, also wanted to ask about you going on to also direct the film and what that experience was like as well, and being on set and approaching the directing as well.
The directing of the film, I've never directed something that felt so personal, even though the story itself didn't actually happen since it was based on an event. It felt very close to me. So I was mindful to attempt to let go of some of my ego, which is hard as an artist, but I tried. And I would say that the experience was overall very challenging because we only had a limited number of days. We had 3.5 days. There are a lot of locations in the short film. The budget was not very large. But I was fortunate to have one of my longest, one of my oldest collaborators, Ty Fanning, who plays Clay, come from New York City to play one of the main roles. And we found a terrific actor in Cameron Keat for the young boy he was smart with it. He was on set. He was used to being on set. So working with the both of them, seeing their chemistry, that made things go much more smoothly. But of course, like any low budget short film project, it's not without its difficulties and also moments now that I can, recall and sort of laugh about.
And also speaking about the cast, what was the experience like once the actors signed on to the film to really work with them and building their characters as well?
Yeah. So with Ty, it started actually while we were in the middle of drafts. I wrote Clay around my friend Ty. I had him in mind with playing it. So I'll give you one example. As Derek and I, so Derek, it's really the whole process sort of extends out, but with Ty, really the development of Clay came about partially in development and then also on set. So what do you think about this? What do you think about this part of your relationship with the boy's mother? How would that go? And we eventually came on this idea that the mom, Jess, um, found Clay at a bar, probably thought this will just be a fun little thing. He's not a serious guy. I don't have to worry about getting serious. I don't want to get serious. I just had a traumatic experience in my life. I just want something fun. And she finds this fun boy, Clay, this man child. And all of a sudden, Clay sees the woman of his dreams and realizes he needs to clean up his act and he wants to actually commit to her in a serious way. So we're playing with the irony there. And that's all sort of in the backstory. And that's kind of what they're arguing about when Clay and Jess are arguing at the end of the film. And so working with Ty, I think a lot of that work is up front and then on the day. I will say, working with a minor, it requires more effort to work with a minor. He's a kid. He wants to go out and have fun. And so I was lucky that Ty was also able to nail a take or two, nail it every time, just a take or two. And then working with Cameron himself, a lot of that work was actually just helping Cameron just be Cameron, as opposed to, I think a lot of child actors are used to playing it up, for Sesame Street or whatever else that they're on, and they're used to being like the kid, like the energetic kid. And I said, that's not this boy. And but once he made that turn, he got it. He's like, oh, okay, I see, I got it.
And also, speaking about the locations, like you mentioned earlier, what was that experience like as well? And really figuring out where you wanted to shoot the movie and really securing those locations as well.
Yeah. Well, I live in Pittsburgh, and so all of those locations are places that I have been to and enjoy. So my wife and I like to go on dates to Brewster's Ice Cream, which is the ice cream store. So that came up, and we knew the owner. So we said, hey, would you mind letting us film here? He said, sure, I'd love to. Actually, he said, I'm actually an actor as well, but and he was away for the time we did our shoot, so I couldn't put him in the movie. And there was a one night I was out on a date night with my wife again, and we saw this pinball cafe and thought that'd be a great place to shoot a movie. So, we also sort of wrote the short film around kind of what I knew we could get access to. And so I was able to connect with the owners of the Pinball Cafe, which is Kickback Pinball Cafe in Pittsburgh, and say, hey, making a movie, would you like to, could I be in it? I said, I'm sure you've had many shoots here before. It's such a unique location. They said, no, actually, we tend to be the staging room for like productions like Netflix. When they come in, they want to shoot on the street, and we just let them put their gear in here. We've never actually had a shoot feature our store. And so I said, great, I'd like to be the first. And then there was a local clothing shop I really liked, and I thought, well, let's go there. And Phil was who's the owner of this shop Vestas in Pittsburgh, was kind enough to let us come in and shoot for a couple of hours. So that's how and then I bothered some friends for their house. That was the final location. The house was my friends Rob and Rebecca, and I was able to let them convince them to let me. They didn't know what they were signing up for, but I think they're happy with the final film.
And also, I wanted to ask about producing the film as well, and what that experience was like to really balance producing and directing.
Yeah, I was fortunate to bring my friend Freya Gothelf along with me as a producer so she ended up taking over the on-set producing duties and first assistant director duties. So once we were in production and even in pre, I was able to say, okay, Freya, it's all you. I'm just going to direct. So fortunately for the production side of things, I didn't have to do. You still have to end up doing some producing. It's just the way these things go. You always are balancing a lot of different responsibilities. But as far as the pre-production, I would say actually the most challenging part was just dealing with the COVID regulations, because there's just a lot of administration involved in making sure, okay, you got your test this many days before, but you don't need the test, but you got to test again this many days later. Okay, where are you coming from? And you have your vaccine, you don't have your vaccine, and okay, now we need a COVID compliance officer on set. Like, you don't realize, but that little amount really, like, it adds just enough to make the film slightly, it's like a little bit, but it makes the film more difficult in the production side of things. But at the end, I'm not complaining about it. Safety is number one for sure, and it's necessary and important. But it certainly was. I had not dealt with it before, so that was a challenging part of the production process.
Yeah, with the movie premiering at the Dances with Films Festival in New York, and I'm actually in New York and looking forward to kind of going to the festival and seeing everything there. And what's that experience been like of knowing that the movie's at a play here at the festival and getting to share it with audiences here as well?
Are you going to be able to go to the festival?
Yeah, it's over the weekend, so
Are we
yeah,
going to see you there?
yeah.
Okay, great. I'd love to see you at our short. It's at 1:15 at the Regal in Union Square. I'm sure you know that and you'd say it, but I'll say it for you.
Yeah.
for you, and I'm just your audience.
Mhm.
And so it's very exciting. I've not been a part of Dances with Films before. It's a highly reputable film festival. They've treated us so well so far. In fact, I may be spoiled that this is the first festival that we are. This is our kicking off our short film run. They spoil
Mhm.
us with emails. They're highly communicative. They're willing to go out of their way to help us. They make it. I'm just so excited that they don't the films are not in competition with each other. Meaning they're all slotted at different times. And even within the shorts blocks, for instance, it's a comedy, a drama, a horror. You're not competing for the same space or the same laughs, or the same scares. And so that's exciting to me. And I've looked through most of the trailers for the festival, and it's all very high quality. I'm very excited to get to see it.
I think that was mainly it, but thank you again for taking the time out to speak with me. I appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
You're welcome.